Welcome, Sens Talk.
Russell winds in, feeds it back across the strike, and scores! Brady Tkachuk makes it 2-0. Claude Giroux, hit along, scores!
Tim Stutzock cross, Tkachuk score! The captain, Brady Tkachuk, buries it with 1:18 to go.
See you later. Go Sens, go. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon Plant, and I am your host today. We have some breaking news coming out of the nation's capital, as Steve Staios and your Ottawa Senators have made a pair of PTO signings. That's right, it's early September. That means it's professional tryout season, ladies and gentlemen, when all the free agents that didn't get signed say, you know what, might as well take a PTO, and Ottawa's got a pair of those today. But before I break down those two signings, and frankly, for professional tryout agreements, these are some really interesting signings. Before I break that all down, I just want to say this. I was supposed to be uploading a very special video today. The other day, if you don't follow me on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it, and Instagram, you probably wouldn't know this. But the Sens organization invited myself and other members of the media and social media influencers. I hate that term. They invited some people to, a media launch event yesterday, and I did a special type of video. I did a vlog style. I'd never really done that before. Maybe the first of many. I don't know. I kind of like how it turned out, but it was a really cool experience. Got to meet a lot of really incredible people, and on top of all that, I got to hear from some really interesting people. Of course, like Linus Ullmark. His first real media availability was yesterday. We also heard from Steve Staios and some other department heads within the Sens organization. So that was a really cool video to shoot. It's over 20 minutes long, I believe. You got some food reviews. You got some clips of the Ullmark and Staios, availabilities, which are basically exclusive because they weren't really streamed anywhere. So stay tuned for that this Sunday. Was going to upload that tonight, but of course, going to delay that for a couple of days because of the signings. We want to keep it fresh. So we're going to cover this first, and then we'll put that out on Sunday. And by the way, next week, we have some huge interviews on the way. I'm not going to say who. We're being very tight-lipped here at Sens Talk. But let me just say this. A few Sens players are joining the show. Just going to leave it at that. So stay tuned for that in the coming week or two on top of our vlog video on Sunday. Now, that's enough yapping. That's enough blabbing. Let's get into why you clicked on this video. As Ottawa today announced a pair of signings in the professional tryout realm of things, as they signed right-handed defenseman Calen Addison, and as well, and this is the one that's really gone viral on Twitter and got a lot of people talking, winger from Russia, Nikolay Kulemin. Frankly, if you're a Leaf fan, you're probably watching this, to be honest with you. Hello from the other side of Ontario. The better side of Ontario, I might add. But this is a guy that is a Leaf legend, of course. He had that huge year with them, like 14 years ago, a 30-goal season. Grabovski, they had a great line together. So, trust me, I'm all in on the lore on Nikolay Kulemin. So, yeah, it's that Kulemin. I had to, do a double glance when they dropped this, news a couple hours ago, because I couldn't believe it. I mean, again, not trying to take shots at him. He's been playing in the KHL, a really tough league. But at 38 years old, you never really see a guy come over from, Russia after being out of the league for 6-7 years to, back to North America, but on a PDO, not even on a contract. So, bit of a interesting scenario there, which we'll get into in a minute, because I want to start off with the blue line with Calen Addison, because Calen Addison, he's 24 years old, he's a right-handed defenseman, and he's from Brandon, Manitoba, one of the best cities in Canada, baby. Love that city for no particular reason. But yeah, Calen Addison, right-handed defenseman at 5'11". This is a guy that's got a lot of people talking. Unlike, with Kulemin, this is a guy that people can really see as a guy that, yeah, maybe that would be a good asset to bring in to shore up the depth, whether it's in, the 6-7 position or just throughout the organization. They're on the top pairing with Belleville, or on the top four with Belleville. Because this is a guy with a lot of NHL experience. Last year, 72 games between the Minnesota Wild and the San Jose Sharks, 17 points, one of which were a goal. So, not exactly a point getter. But the year before, he had like 22 points in like 70 games. So he is a guy that could produce. The shortcomings for him, however, though, is his defensive side of things. He's not exactly a strong defender. He's kind of the right-handed version of Eric Brandstrom. He's a little undersized, but a very, very good puck mover and skater. In his NHL career, he's played in 152 games, 6 goals, 44 assists for 50 total points. So again, not bad at all, especially if you're getting that from your third pairing, but not, lighting up the world by any means. Again, this is a PDO signing. You shouldn't expect Erik Karlsson numbers, but that's my point. For a PDO signing, these are actually some pretty decent numbers, and numbers that would suggest that this guy has a very good shot at least getting a two-way contract with the Sens. If you look at his advanced analytics, it's not bad. His Corsi for percentage, which means when he's on the ice, I should say, the team has possession more often than not. If it's below 50%, then more often than not, the other team has possession when he's on the ice. And that is the case. He's at 48.1% in his entire NHL career. However, I want to say that he played last year with the San Jose Sharks, historically one of the worst teams in, frankly, the 21st century. So that definitely took a hit on his, Corsi for percentage. But he also has a top 10 worst plus minus, in the National Hockey League in the last couple of years. Again, the San Jose effect absolutely has to be considered. But again, this is not exactly a defensively strong defender, which of course is a cause for concern when you're looking at depth. That's why, I can see him signing a two-way deal, but a one-way deal, especially with Travis Hamonic still in the fold, on that no movement clause, I don't really see happening. A Calen Addison kind of guy is a very good piece to have within the organization for the depth as the 8th defenseman, maybe that 7th defenseman theoretically. He would provide very good, veteran experience for Belleville, but also very good talent for Belleville, while also providing some very decent NHL capabilities for Ottawa if he's here as well. This is a young defenseman, remember. He's only 24 years old. He's only played 150 games in the National Hockey League, and he was a star. He was a star in the WHL, 215 points in 252 WHL games. Also won gold with Canada in 2020 at the World Juniors with 9 points as well. This is a very talented player. Was drafted in the second round a few years ago as well. So, again, this is either a guy that's going to light it up in Belleville or be a solid depth guy for the Ottawa Senators. Basically what I'm saying is I hope the Sens take a shot at him and give him a contract, to be honest. I've been very vocal about my iffiness around the Sens and their, third pairing and their 7th defenseman situation. And Belleville as well has taken some hits as of late in terms of their depth down there on the blue line with the losses of Lassie Thompson and, of course, Jacob Larson. So, bringing him in on a two-way deal would provide value for the NHL and AHL teams, which makes him a very attractive option for me. Again, I'm just a little hesitant because of those defensive abilities, which are lacking, to be honest with you. But also, he was on the San Jose Sharks. Not exactly an ideal situation for anyone, let alone a young defenseman trying to catch his stride in the National Hockey League. On the bright side of things, though, if you look at the advanced analytics, he is a bit rough defensively. However, he's ranked number 10 out of 1,500 defensemen in the last 3 years for giveaways per 60 minutes at 0.95. So, I'm trying to take a positive out of what seemingly looks like a negative. Again, a lot of the advanced analytics aren't exactly favorable for him on the defensive side of things, but that's a favorable thing. And again, on the offensive side of things, he's clearly a talented and gifted defenseman. Again, he's basically the right-handed version of Erik Brannstrom, who we just lost in free agency to Colorado. So, again, I think this is an interesting piece. Frankly, even if we don't sign him, this is just a good, addition for camp and preseason, because it will create more internal competition to force Jacob Bernard-Docker and Tyler Clevin to compete even harder for those last couple positions on the third pairing. And again, there is a very decent chance that the Sens sign him to a two-way deal to provide more depth for the Sens organization throughout, Belleville and, of course, here in Ottawa. You need guys like this, especially when you get into those nitty-gritty days of the season. Injuries are going to happen, and you're going to need guys like this to come up in a pinch. We'll see what happens with that. But once again, a nice piece of work here from Steve Stais. No risk. Literally, you can just release him, and best case, you sign him. One thing to note, though, is as I'm about to get into the Nikolay Kulemin side of things, is the Sens only have one available contract slot left. NHL teams are only allowed 50 NHL contracts per year. Ottawa currently has 49. So if they're serious about signing one of these two PTOs, they likely only can pick one unless they trade somebody. And don't really know if you're going to trade somebody for a PTO, guys. So just keep that in mind when considering whether or not Ottawa is going to sign an Addison or a Nikolay Kulemin. And speaking of Nikolay Kulemin, let's get to him right now. So Nikolay Kulemin, you probably clicked on this video for Nikolay Kulemin Kulemin is a winger who is 38 years old, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, who's 6'1" as well. He has some connections to the organization. Dave Poulin, the Sens senior vice president of hockey operations, used to be the vice president of hockey operations for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Steve Stais was also part of the Leafs organization at the time as well. So Kulemin has some connections with the Sens organization right now, which could explain why he was signed to this PTO. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, not trying to take shots at Kulemin. This is a guy with a very solid career, no doubt about it, and has put up decent numbers in the KHL the last 6-7 years. But at the same time, when's the last time you saw a 38-year-old, player who hasn't played in the National Hockey League in almost a decade come overseas from, away from his home country back to North America on a non-even guaranteed contract? You really never see that. So that's really why I'm trying to emphasize how weird this is, and I'm trying to make it make sense. Again, we know Steve Stais loves veterans, but this seems like a bit of a weird veteran to bring in, especially with some free agents still available that are veterans. So there's definitely that connection. So that could be why. Maybe he's doing an agent or, Kulemin himself a favor. Yeah, of course, the Sens are going to take a look at him, and if they like him, they'll sign him to, a contract, whether it's a one-way or two-way, where he helps Belleville, which is certainly a possibility as well. But the other thing could be is he's just showing himself off to get back into the National Hockey League to begin with. Maybe other teams take a look at him when he's with Ottawa, and then they offer him a contract. So that also might be what's in it for Kulemin as well. But Kulemin was a 30-goal scorer 14 years ago with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's been long, far gone from the Leafs organization, so the stench of the Leafs is off him by now, so it's okay. He's a Sen, no doubt about it. His last NHL game was in November of 2017 with the New York Islanders before he got hurt in that game for the year, a season-ending upper body injury. So since that unfortunate injury, has not been back to the National Hockey League and has spent the last 6 years in the KHL, where he's put up 326 games played with 88 goals, 92 assists for 180 total points, while in the National Hockey League before that stint in the KHL. This is what he's really known for. He played in 669 games with 121 goals, including, of course, that 30-goal season with the Maple Leafs 14 years ago, and 153 assists for 274 total points, with as well 25 career playoff games with 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 total points. So, yeah, this is an interesting PDO signing, no doubt about it. Again, Sens obviously are going to take a look at him, and I think this would be a really cool ad for the Sens if it was for Belleville. If this is for the Ottawa Senators and their fourth line, 13th forward position, I think they can do better. Just going to be honest about it. I have to watch Kulemin, but I can't imagine he's the fastest skater anymore. And on your fourth line, you don't want guys that are slow. So that's exactly why, for example, Igor Sokolov didn't work out in the National Hockey League, or at least with Ottawa. It's because he was not the fastest skater. So, I can't imagine a guy that is in the last couple years of his NHL career being a fast or very, very good skater. Again, I'm going to watch him in preseason. I'm really, really intrigued to watch him in preseason. And knowing the Ottawa Senators, this guy's going to probably go off in preseason, and I'm here for it, to be honest with you. I think this would be a really cool ad for the Belleville Senators. Belleville has a lot of Toronto fans there as well. That would definitely help with ticket sales, no doubt about it. And again, for a few games, if you need a guy in a pinch, I'm sure he's fine. But my point is, you don't want him to be, the everyday, 12th or 13th forward. That's just not an ideal scenario. Again, no offense to Kulemin. It's just he's 38 years old and has not been in the league for almost a decade. This seems to be more of a depth signing where he's in the AHL or gets signed somewhere else, or it's just released by the PDO. I don't really see him signing an NHL one-way deal. Unlike Calen Addison, where I think there's certainly a decent potential that happens. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below about those two signings. Really, really interesting. Really intrigued to watch both of these players compete in camp and play in the preseason. Kulemin especially, because, what an unknown player this is, considering I don't know about you, I haven't watched KHL hockey, so I haven't seen this guy play in 6-7 years. And then for Addison, a young prospect who's kind of lost it, was on a really brutal Sharks team. Maybe he can bounce back with the Ottawa Senators. So with that, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on Sunday for that vlog to recap and, relive, I guess you can call it, the media representatives event from yesterday. Again, thanks to the Sens organization for that. So besides that, thank you all for watching. I'll see you Sunday, and go Sens go.